Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. Talking about a bill that passed in the legislature just last week, the Black History Act. It will require that students in grades 5 through 8 learn about Black history and culture. Right now, teachers have the option. This would make it mandatory that they learn some of that, mainly about individuals,
yes,
right? Mainly about individuals. We have with us the sponsor, Representative Yusuf Hakeem. He's a Democrat from Hamilton County, Chattanooga. There was a fiscal note originally attached to this because it would require the altering of all of our textbooks.
Yes.
So that's a huge fiscal note.
Yes, yes.
Fiscal note means that it would cost a lot of money. And when there is a fiscal note attached, those things usually don't pass.
No, they go to the back of the budget.
Right.
Yeah.
So what did you do to make sure that this bill didn't have that kind of cost?
Well, what we did was did a little research and found that the Social Studies Review Committee was going to go through its process in 2023. So that was an option, instead of trying to do it right away with that large fiscal note, to do it at that time. Now, what that means is that there will be an opportunity for schools to adjust to the new books, which will not go into the classrooms until school year 25-26. And as a result of that, we were able to remove a large fiscal note, which we got a fiscal note that basically said it was insignificant because of the timing of what we were trying to do.
And that's great. And you mentioned in the first segment some of the people you would you would see for sure, or you would like to see. I mean, do we know now students will learn about George Washington Carver, or do we know X, X, and X? They're going to learn about this person, and this person, or is there, we don't know that yet?
Yeah. Well, what we've tried to do is set the tone as to the type of persons that we want the children to be exposed to and learn about. So that the final decision will be up to the state school board, which has the authority, the curriculum, to decide which books will be selected for that process. And we trust the board to follow through on what the law is.
And so what's your background? So you come up there to the legislature in the midst of all that's going on, and you pass this bill. What's your background?
Well, I came from a community service background, a lot of neighborhood organizations and things of that nature. And one day at one of these groups, a person said to me, well, why don't you run for the school board? I didn't respond. I just went home, and like you try on a suit of clothes, that's what I did, tried it on to see if it fit. As a result of that, I was on the school board for 10 years. Then we had a change of government in the city of Chattanooga from a commission to a district form of government, and I won an election at that time. This was in 1990. I served on the city council for 19 years. Yeah. And
wow.
And then Governor Bredesen afforded me the opportunity to be a part of the parole board here in Nashville, and I served in that position for 7 years, 1 year under Governor Haslam. Yeah.
So you've been school board, city council member,
yes, sir,
parole board,
yes,
and now state lawmaker. You've
yes,
done
sir,
that for 4 years.
Yes, sir.
What was it like on the school board? What are the differences that you might encounter now as opposed to when you were on the school board there in a city like Chattanooga?
Well, firstly, we were not separated, we'll say, by Democrat and Republicans. It was who gets the most votes in that community, that's who it is. I think there was more camaraderie. I think it was more children focused as opposed to making it a point of, we want you to do it this way or that way. What is in the best interest of the children? We work with the staff, the school board, superintendent, and I think it worked out very well over a period of time. And as a result of that, we've had some great classes of young people who come out of our schools.
What do you think about the new push to make it more partisan, to make the school board be Democrat, Republican? Because you're saying when you were on it all those years ago, you didn't have Democrat, Republican.
No.
You had a parent from this school and maybe a parent from this school, but it wasn't, here's a Democrat, here's a Republican.
Right.
What do you think about the fact that's the way it is now?
Well, I think what it does is put us in a silo, Democrat or Republican, and instead of doing what is in the best interest of the children, well, what's in the best interest of the position that we want to take. And so I think we have to get away from that, even though it's part of the law now that you have to do that. You can still break away from that and do what is in the best interest of the children. Otherwise, you're going all the way down to the basic, the learning of our children. And it should be about their learning as opposed to positions or issues that we want to pinpoint as adults. And we're getting in the way, in my view, at times, of improving the lives of our children by taking all these various positions.
As somebody who was on a school board, what do you think about some of the bills that have come out recently here in the legislature? Not yours, but the critical race theory, banning critical race theory.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, it's a bill in search of a problem, because there's not a teaching of critical race theory in Tennessee schools. And so as a result of that, you're trying to find a problem that is not there. And I think, again, that's part of a national effort for a political position as opposed to what's in the best interest of the children. And unfortunately, a lot of parents have been frightened as a result of the dialogue that's taken place in regards to critical race theory. And, of course, they want their children in a safe environment, a learning environment, but this misinformation has sullied that environment. So we're going to, those who are willing, we're going to have to continue to fight, to move forward, to do what is in best interest of the children, period.
And so you were on the school board back in, when was that, 1990?
1980 to 1990.
Oh my goodness, so that's a long time ago.
Yes, sir.
And there were big problems back then, right? How are they worse now? What do you think about where we are now as opposed to when you were on the school board, really on the front lines then? I mean, do you think the problems are bigger now, or they're just different? They were always big. What do you think?
I think there were big problems during that time also, but I think it was not as much on the surface. And I think right now it's just in your face, in a sense of speaking. My position is the right position, and that's all it is to it. But our children are going to have to learn that they are not the only ones in the world, to make decisions, to work with other people. And this is going away from what we're saying, but I remember back in the 1960s, early 60s, Nikita Khrushchev, the head of the Soviet Union, say we will take America without firing a shot. In other words, he's saying that we're going to do it to ourselves. And are we doing that now? Are we tearing ourselves apart in such a way that it makes it difficult for us to come back together? Are we losing our values and who we are so that we can have a hierarchy in government that is one-dimensional? And that's, to my view, that is not America. America is, when I say it's diverse, we're talking about knowledge, culture, understanding, and we should celebrate that as opposed to trying to dismiss it.
So you say, it sounds like you're worried that's where we're going.
Yes, sir.
What Nikita Khrushchev said.
Yes, sir.
That there were big problems back when you were on the school board, but now it's less about really talking about those problems in a way that's constructive.
Yes.
It's something different.
Yes. Yes, sir.
And what is it you're seeing? It's just what?
That we don't want to listen to each other, that we have a point of view, and that is the right point of view regardless. And, we will say ugly or mean things about each other, knowing that it's not true, but it gets your point across to a certain group of people. And I'm saying that we're going to have to push back against that kind of mentality, whether it's in television, radio, school board, that we want what is best for the children. We want our country to be a true democracy, growing in that direction. We're not perfect as a democracy, but we have been growing in that direction. And there are people who don't want us to move in that direction. And we're talking about some of them from outside of our nation.
You think, yeah, that's very interesting. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
All right, you were also on the city council there.
Yes, sir.
And how long was that? That was when?
From 1990, I think I came off in 2006.
Wow, so
yeah.
a long time.
Yeah. And
so you saw Chattanooga.
Went back for another 4 years after
really?
that.
So you really saw Chattanooga grow.
Yes, yes.
And how was that? I mean, you're seeing Nashville. You come to Nashville for the legislature, but you're seeing probably some of the same things. What kind of stood out to you in that period of rapid growth there in Chattanooga and some of the big challenges you faced?
Well, again, I think the growth was there, but it was segmented. A group of people benefited from it, and those who traditionally had not benefited from it are still not benefiting from it. We had an opportunity where we were bringing people in, encouraging people to come to Chattanooga from Oregon and other places. They came. But when it came to cities close by us, where there were great professionals like Atlanta, we did not encourage those people to come to Chattanooga. It lessened our diversity in Chattanooga by doing that. But we're talking about the scenic attractions, we're talking about business development. All of that is moving in the right direction, but it's a certain group of people who are benefiting from that.
And do you think Nashville has something to learn with that?
Well, I would hope they learn from that if you want to be one of the outstanding major cities in our nation, you have to give some consideration to diversity, to striving for people to move up the ladder. And we talk about getting some people off of low-income situations. Well, if we say we're going to move everyone off of low-income jobs and so forth, well, we may not get that far, but we can improve. We can make that number smaller. Those people are children who are in environments suffering from hunger and things of that nature, to limit that as much as we can.
We're talking with Representative Yusuf Hakeem, Hamilton County, Democrat from Chattanooga, just passed a bill, the Black History Act. It passed just last week, will require the teaching of Black history in grades 5 through 8. We will take a break, continue our discussion. If you want to call in, there's the number. Take a break. Be back right after this.